And when Don McGahn did not show up yesterday, over there at The View, they were talking about it, and Joy Behar had this to say.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking Nixon would be so... He says I was in the wrong period of history because he would have gotten away with everything just like this corrupt president is getting away with. This is an unbelievable corrupt president, corrupt administration, and the Republican Party is right behind him, and they all should be thrown into jail as far as I'm concerned.
And they carded Meghan McCain right there. They took her away.
Meghan said it's a little aggressive. Throwing all the Republicans in jail.
And by the way, the problem is there's a lot of problems with impeachment. Number one, it's not going to go anywhere past the House. Number two, you already have the big differences. There wasn't a Watergate report that took 2.5 years that was handed in which exonerated Nixon. They exonerated the president when it came to collusion, which was the focus. Then they look at obstruction. But if there's no underlying crime and you want to go pursue that, you can go pursue it, but you could do it on your own time.
So what are the Democrats doing? Ari Fleischer had this observation.
This is nakedly political. It has nothing to do with merits or substance. If it had to do with principle, the Democrats should proceed. If they in their heart believe the president committed obstruction, then you impeach him because that's what you believe. You take the vote and you win or you lose. The reason that this is so troublesome to me is you talk about Trump violating norms. The Democrats are the ones violating the norms, trying to use impeachment to get rid of a president they never liked in the first place, who did not collude with Russia.
Ultimately, the Democrats are needed by the Republicans to get something done regarding immigration. And so much of our news over the last couple of months has been about the crisis at our southern border. This morning, we have new news about how they've actually shut down one of the biggest processing facilities because of a flu-like symptoms that so many people apparently are presenting themselves with, and the death of a 16-year-old yesterday.
Yeah, it's at one of the busiest crossing areas down in Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. We've been there and countless reports down there. They're saying they're high fevers. That 16-year-old died. These individuals are receiving medical care, but they can't accept any more people because people are dying because of the flu down there, and they don't want others to get it.
So, and by the way, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are going to meet with the president today at 11 o'clock. This better come up because they need emergency measures, not massive immigration reform, emergency measures that could immediately alleviate a lot of this pressure. I'm stunned that it is just one. Now they're going to take a facility that was already overstocked with over 9,000 people that was equipped to take about 400. Now they're going to say we're shutting it down. Well, what do you do with 2,200 people that are lining up and say, take me in, not running, saying take me in, let alone those people that are saying have drugs and meth and everything else that are coming across. They have to go somewhere else. With what? They don't have the facilities, they don't have the trucks, they don't have the drivers. This is it's not tenable. Ron Keiss is a spokesperson for CBP. Says this: to avoid the spread of illness, the Rio Grande Valley sector temporarily suspended intake operations at CPC. Individuals apprehended in the RGV sector will be held at other locations. So let me see. You have the National Guard taking the place of Border Patrol in certain areas to allow the National Guard to be to allow the Border Patrol to be Border Patrol agents. And now the Border Patrol agents who they have to go to another sector with people that don't belong here. This is not fair to the men and women doing this.
Well, thankfully, the government recognizes this could be a big problem, and they have shut things down, and so it is the reasonable thing to do.
But they shut down the facility, but the Border Patrol still has to take them somewhere else.
Yeah.
One step at a time. Meanwhile, you know, the whole thing comes down to Congress has got to change the rules, and then that would alleviate the problem there. Congress has got to change the immigration rules. It's also what the HUD Secretary, Ben Carson, was explaining yesterday to lawmakers because he was called up on Capitol Hill because he runs the Housing and Urban Development Department. He was asked yesterday about the current rules that bar undocumented immigrants from receiving federal housing subsidies. But they do allow families with mixed immigration status. In other words, if you have a child in the household who was born in the United States and has status, then they can keep the house. But apparently HUD is planning to require that every family member living in subsidized housing be eligible for the status, and that's a problem. But Ben Carson says, look, we've got people who have been on waiting lists who are in the country legally for years. They should be given priority.
He was on with Tucker last night. Listen to this.
The real thing that is hurting people is our failure to address this immigration system, the rules that are drawing people here and keeping them here, and that are so unfair to American citizens who have been paying taxes and working here. Whenever you get on an airplane, and the initial announcement, they say if there's an emergency, your oxygen mask will drop down, put yours on first, and then assist your neighbor. Obviously, we need to take care of our people. Doesn't mean that we're not compassionate people. It means that we're logical people.
He said that they can defer for 6 months, and they can do that again twice. So that's a total of 18 months. Plenty of time for Congress, he says, to change these laws.
And for these people to make other plans because they don't belong here to begin with. And just ask yourself, it's not Democrat against Republican. It is American against people who are sneaking in here.
Right.
Not going by our laws, not going by through the asylum system, not going through the immigration system, jumping the line, pushing off the people. And I don't know if you've noticed, but you go into these major cities, we're overwhelmed with Americans, homeless, many of which are veterans. That should be the priority. Yep. And for those people to make disparaging remarks about Ben Carson, he's one of the world's elite brain surgeons. He's so much smarter than everybody else in Washington. He's just getting used to the housing authority. So easy with the comments. It's unbelievable.
He was asked yesterday by Katie Porter, a Democrat, about the disparities in foreclosures. And she asked him, do you know what REO is? And he goes, Oreo? And that has become a viral moment. It turns out it means real estate owned. Carson's office actually sent the Congresswoman some Oreos after that. And Oreo, the cookie company, then yesterday tweeted out, REO stands for Really Excellent Oreos.